Welcome to Bedtime Stories presented by Vanishing Trails, where we explore the darker side of America's national parks. From unexplained disappearances to eerie encounters, we dive deep into the chilling mysteries that have left hikers, rangers, and adventurers alike wondering what really lies in the shadows of these majestic landscapes. Yellowstone National Park, with its rugged beauty and breathtaking landscapes, is one such place where the land holds secrets that go beyond the beauty of geysers and wildlife. Every corner of the park whispers of things that should remain hidden, strange disappearances, unsettling phenomena, and encounters that linger long after the sun sets. Tonight, as you listen to these tales, remember these are just stories told around a campfire of America's oldest national park. Story 1: The Missing Photographer. Daniel Harris was no ordinary visitor. A wildlife photographer, he had spent years tracking elusive animals, braving the elements to capture the perfect shot. He was experienced, careful. He knew these lands well. In the summer of 1985, Daniel set out into the Lamar Valley alone. His last transmission came through just after dusk, his voice barely above a whisper. Not a bear. Not a wolf. It's watching me. Then, silence. 2 days later, rangers found his campsite. His tent was still pitched, his belongings neatly arranged. His pack sat by the fire pit, untouched. His boots were there, right where he'd left them. But his camera was gone, and so was he. For weeks, search teams combed the area. No footprints leading away. No torn clothing. No signs of struggle. It was as if he had simply vanished. Months later, hikers found a camera wedged in the roots of a fallen tree. Inside, the film had survived. The first few photos showed breathtaking landscapes moose in the mist, wolves at sunset. But the final frames were different. Dark, blurry. The last image showed Daniel's face, wide-eyed, fear frozen in his expression. His mouth was slightly open, as if caught mid-breath. And the one before that? A set of footprints in the dirt. Not his. Too large. Too long. Barefoot. Leading into the trees. They stopped abruptly, as if whatever made them had simply vanished into thin air. Story 2: The Silent Pool. West Thumb Geyser Basin is one of the strangest places in Yellowstone. Boiling hot springs shimmer in brilliant blues and greens, their stillness masking the deadly heat below. The ground here is fragile, one misstep, and you could plunge through, scalded beyond recognition before you even have time to scream. But there is one pool not listed on maps. The Silent Pool. In the 1930s, a woman disappeared near its edge. Witnesses saw her standing at the water's edge, staring into the depths, her head tilted slightly, as if listening to something just below the surface. Then, in an instant, she was gone. No splash. No sound. Just gone. The search found nothing. No footprints leading away. No sign that she had fallen in. Just a single shoe placed neatly at the edge of the pool. Decades later, campers reported whispers drifting through the steam. Others claimed their reflections in the water lingered moving, just a second too late. In the 1980s, a geologist placed instruments near the pool to study its thermal activity. Late one night, they recorded something strange, a low hum, almost like a voice. By morning, his equipment was gone. The only thing left was his notebook, lying open in the dirt. His last words? Something is... He never finished the sentence. Story 3: The Watcher in the Woods. Deep in Yellowstone's backcountry, far from the trails, there is a place where people refuse to camp twice. A place where, once the sun sets, you are no longer alone. In 2012, a couple backpacking near Shoshone Lake set up camp miles from any road or ranger station. At 2 a.m., they woke to the sound of slow, steady breathing just outside their tent. They froze. The breathing moved first to one side of the tent, then the other. Slow, deliberate. Then came the clicking. A soft, rhythmic tapping like nails against bone. They lay still, waiting for it to pass. The clicking stopped. Then silence. At dawn, they packed up and left in a hurry. But as they reached the clearing, they stopped. Footprints, encircling their tent. Human-shaped, but too long, too thin, leading into the trees, and stopping, as if whatever had made them had simply disappeared. They never camped in Yellowstone again. Story 4. The Man in the Steam. The Norris Geyser Basin is one of the hottest, most volatile areas in Yellowstone. The ground hisses with escaping steam, and the air smells of sulfur. The pathways are safe as long as you don't step off them. One evening in 2015, a group of tourists were taking photos when one woman noticed something strange through her camera lens. In the rising steam, just beyond the boardwalk, she swore she saw a man standing there. He wasn't moving. His clothes were old, like something out of the 1800s. A long coat, a wide-brimmed hat. His head was tilted slightly, as if listening. Then the steam thickened, and he was gone. Thinking she had imagined it, she flipped through her pictures. In one, the geysers were clear, the mist swirling around the landscape. In the next, he was there. The photo showed him looking directly at her. When she showed it to a ranger, he sighed and shook his head. "You're not the first. The basin has a dark history. Early explorers, trappers, and even prospectors who never made it out. Some say their ghosts are still trapped in the heat, forever waiting for a way back." Story 5. The Unseen Passenger. Yellowstone's roads stretch for miles through endless wilderness, winding between deep valleys and dense forests. Many drivers travel them at night, their headlights the only source of light for miles. One night, in 2009, a park ranger was making his usual rounds when he noticed a sedan parked at the side of the road, engine running. The driver, a middle-aged man, was gripping the steering wheel tightly, eyes locked straight ahead. The ranger tapped on the window. The man didn't move. Finally, he rolled it down just an inch and whispered, "Do you see him?" The ranger frowned. "See who?" The man shuddered. "He's been in my back seat for the last 10 miles. The ranger quickly shone his flashlight inside. The back seat was empty. The man let out a shaky breath, finally looking away from the road. But as he did, his face twisted in horror. "He's standing behind you." The ranger spun around. Nothing, but the cold that filled the air was undeniable. Story 6. The Elk Caller. The northern edges of Yellowstone are known for their elk herds. In autumn, their eerie bugling calls echo through the valleys, a haunting, high-pitched wail that signals the arrival of fall. But in 2018, a group of hikers heard something different. They were deep in the backcountry when, just before sunset, they heard an elk call. But it was wrong. Too deep. Too slow. Almost human. It repeated, closer this time. Then came another call from the other side of the trail. The hikers froze. There were no footsteps, no rustling in the grass. Just the sound, moving from place to place. One of them, a wildlife biologist, whispered, "That's not an elk." They turned back, moving quickly toward their camp, but the calls followed. Only when they reached their tent did they realize something chilling. The last call had come from inside their camp. Their fire was still burning. No footprints. No sign of anything approaching. Just the whisper of something in the trees, mimicking the wild sounds of the park, waiting for them to follow. Story 7. The Faint Light at Yellowstone Lake. Yellowstone Lake is serene by day, its still waters reflecting the sky above. But by night, the peaceful lake has a darker side. In 2012, a young couple decided to camp along the shore, a popular spot near the lake's edge. As night fell, they built a fire and settled in, enjoying the stars. It was a clear night, no clouds, no wind, just the quiet murmur of the lake. Then they saw it, a faint light bobbing across the water. It wasn't a boat, nor was it a fire. The light was too steady, almost too deliberate, as it moved silently across the surface. The couple tried to rationalize it, thinking it might be a distant boat with a light. But the light didn't behave like a boat. It didn't move like anything they had ever seen. It drifted too smoothly, as though pulled by some unseen force. Intrigued, the couple grabbed their flashlight and tried to signal, but the light did not react. Instead, it slowly drifted towards them, coming closer with each passing minute. Then, in an instant, the light stopped. It hovered just a few yards from the shore, suspended in place. A cold shiver ran down their spines as they realized the light wasn't floating, no reflection on the water, no visible source. It was just there, watching. They packed up immediately and left. But when they returned to the spot in the morning, there was no sign of the strange light. The lake was perfectly still. Story 8. The Ghost of the Ranger Station. The old faithful ranger station has seen many visitors, and it has its fair share of tales. Most are benign lost hikers, tourists seeking information, but there is one story that has persisted for years. In 1988, Ranger Greg Calloway was assigned to the station alone overnight. It was a routine shift, but he noticed something strange that evening. Around midnight, he heard the sound of footsteps outside the station, slow and deliberate, as if someone was pacing back and forth. Thinking it was a late-night wanderer, he stepped outside. The night air was chilly, but there was no one around. Nothing but the sounds of the wilderness. He shrugged it off and went back inside. An hour later, the footsteps returned. This time, they were louder, closer. Greg opened the door again, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. Still, no one. As he stood there, a chill ran down his spine. Something wasn't right. He closed the door quickly and checked the locks. As he turned to head back inside, he saw something through the glass window, a pale figure standing just beyond the porch light. When he looked again, the figure was gone. The next morning, Greg reported the incident to his supervisor, who just nodded knowingly. Ranger Calloway was the fourth person to report seeing the same apparition, a figure in an old ranger uniform, standing silently on the porch before vanishing without a trace. Story 9. The Deer That Wasn't. The areas around the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone are a common destination for those looking to escape the crowds and hike into the heart of the wilderness. In 2014, a seasoned hiker named Simon was making his way through the canyon when he came across a strange sight. Near a rocky outcrop, he saw a deer. It stood still in the dense foliage, its dark eyes watching him intently. He paused, admiring the beauty of the creature, before noticing something unusual. The deer's antlers didn't look right. They were too large, almost unnaturally wide. As he continued to stare, Simon felt a creeping unease. The deer didn't move. It just stared back. He tried to slowly move closer, his camera in hand, but as he took a step, the deer stepped back into the trees. He stopped, unsure of what to do. It was rare to see a deer stay so still for so long, especially in such a dense part of the park. Then, before he could react, the creature disappeared, slipping through the trees so quickly that Simon couldn't track its movement. In that instant, he realized something was wrong. The deer had been too still, too unnatural. The next day, he returned to the area with other hikers, hoping to spot the deer again. There was no trace of it. No tracks, no broken branches. Just an eerie quiet hanging in the air. Simon never hiked that far into the canyon again. Story 10. The Disappearing Trail. One of the most perplexing tales from Yellowstone comes from a trail that no longer exists. The Lamar Valley Trail, once a beautiful path that led hikers through dense forests and past bubbling hot springs, has seemingly disappeared. It's not that the trail has been closed for construction or maintenance, there's just no record of it. In 2006, an experienced backpacker, Elizabeth, decided to follow the trail she had heard about from a local ranger. It was an old path, one that hadn't been marked for years, but she was confident she could find it. Armed with a map and her knowledge of the park, she set out. After hours of hiking, she came across a fork in the path. The trail split into two directions, one leading toward a rocky ridge, the other toward a dense thicket of pines. Elizabeth chose the second path, confident it would lead her to the historic trail. But as she continued, the scenery began to change. The forest grew unnaturally quiet. The ground underfoot felt different, sinking with each step, as if the earth was shifting. Eventually, Elizabeth realized she was lost. The trail had disappeared. The path she had been following was gone, swallowed up by the thick trees around her. Panic set in. She retraced her steps for hours, but nothing seemed familiar. No landmarks, no clear direction. Just when she was about to radio for help, she stumbled upon a strange clearing. In the center stood an old, dilapidated wooden post with a faded marker. She could barely read the words, Lamar Valley Trail. As quickly as it appeared, the clearing disappeared. The trees closed in, and the path was lost again. Elizabeth made her way back to the main trail, but she would never find the Lamar Valley Trail again. According to park rangers, the trail no longer exists, even though there are occasional hikers who claim to have walked it. The stories you've heard tonight are just a glimpse into the mysteries that lay hidden beneath Yellowstone's surface. The park, with all its beauty and danger, continues to hold secrets that may never fully be understood. Whether it's the eerie lights across the lake, the ghostly figure of a long-forgotten ranger, or the strange disappearance of a seasoned hiker, the mysteries of Yellowstone are waiting to be uncovered. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your senses sharp, and remember sometimes the most terrifying things are those we can't see.